Let's go into Sabrina's question. She says, I know I can't be the first one to submit this, and you are not alone in this, Sabrina. In fact, just this week, I was telling Amber, we got like many requests for this, so you are definitely not alone. She said, so I'm just going to upvote all the others that have been submitted. I want a special podcast all about Amber's pregnancy as a cyclist. What has she learned? What's been hard? What was she expecting would be hard that wasn't hard? How was training adapted? What has she learned about training changes needed during various trimesters? Has there been a mental shift from identifying as a cyclist to now identifying as a cycling mom? For many of us, the greatest fear of pregnancy is how it will affect our training. So let's hear what to expect from the now pro-pregnant lady. And she says, P.S. You're pro at being pregnant. I love that. That's awesome. She says, P.S. Thanks for everything you guys do. Obviously, I'm a female and a huge Amber fan, but even before Amber, I thought you guys did a great job of addressing females in the sport and being upfront saying, I'm not a girl, but here's what the science says. So thanks for being inclusive of all of us all of the time. And actually, I just want to echo that. There was a racer who came up to my wife and actually expressed the same thing this weekend at a bike race, and that they appreciated that. And that's just, that makes us feel really good. She also gushed about how awesome Amber is, and we agree. So
that's very sweet. Thanks.
Thanks to everybody that said hi during the race this weekend, by the way. There were a lot of people that I saw, and race analysis coming soon. But Amber, let's talk about this. This won't be like maybe we'll do a full podcast episode in the future on this, but where do you want to take this? There's a lot to cover.
So I guess I can start with just the basic question of what I've been doing. And it's not a lot of training. I mean, I've been doing a lot of things, but not a lot of riding bikes, and lots of learning. So like what my training, and I'm using air quotes here, looks like right now is I'm doing daily walks. So I'm taking the dog out for a walk every day, which has been really nice for a lot of reasons. Mental health being one of near the top. Just getting out. We have a nice little loop on a trail through some open space in the woods behind our house, which is really nice. So I get out at least once a day to do daily walks. And one of the interesting changes that's taken place is I've shifted mindset from many years of having dedicated workout time. Like I have to have a scheduled workout where I go and I work out. And now what's happening is I get up on a little 5-10 minute break from work and throw a kettlebell around, or do some bicep curls, or do some squats, or do some stretches. And so it's not like a dedicated block of time where I'm doing a workout. It's more like I'm kind of doing things throughout the day as it fits and feels good. And that's been really interesting because it's been like, oh, you can do that? That's allowed?
It doesn't have to be a structured big hour-and-a-half block.
Yeah, so that's been really interesting and fun because you still make gains and you notice progress, but it doesn't. It's such a different mental approach, and it's been really nice. It's been kind of freeing. Like, oh, there's different ways of approaching this. And then what's been really cool is I've learned, I'm working with a doula who's basically a pregnancy coach. And I highly recommend this if anybody is pregnant or planning to get pregnant. A doula is a wonderful resource. And she's teaching me all kinds of cool stuff. And the uterus, by the way, is a muscle. So she's shown me all of these cool things I can do to stretch the muscle, to identify which, if I'm feeling discomfort, which tendons might be shortening. So showing me stretches for uterus tendons, which who knew?
Yeah.
So cool.
That's cool.
I'm learning.
Wow.
I really thought I knew my body until now. And I'm like, wow, there's all this cool stuff I had no idea about. So I'm spending a lot of time being really fascinated too. You can imagine is really fun. Different trimesters. That's a good question. And it's so individual. It's so different for everyone because everyone I've talked to who's gone through this has had vastly different experiences. In general, kind of the big broad brush, generalizations are the first trimester, you're really fatigue is high. It goes through the roof. A lot of women experience nausea, known as morning sickness, but most people I've talked to, it's not it's not restricted to the morning, and it certainly wasn't for me. It was
only.
Constant.
Yeah.
The only good thing about that bike racing really taught me was after bike races, I'd get really nauseated, but I learned and I was able to train myself to eat anyway because the eating actually helped. And in my case, with the nausea in the first trimester, eating did help. So I got really good at kind of getting past the nausea. The nausea makes you not want to eat, but that was kind of like, okay, no, I know I've been here. I know if I eat a little bit, it's going to help. And so staggering like smaller snacks throughout the day to sort of alleviate that. And I did not, for me, it wasn't so bad that I was vomiting, and some women really experience nausea that's so severe that they actually have to, seek medication so that they can actually get and keep food down, which is really important at that time too. So I was lucky in that regard. And then second trimester has been more of that bounce back of the energy level, and my belly feels really big, but it's not as big as it's going to get yet. So it's this nice balance where your energy level pops up, and mechanically on the bike, things aren't so unwieldy that you can actually still ride it. And I'm actually carrying a little bit high, I think. So that helps a little bit on the bike. Some people have asked me how it's been riding a bike, and it's been okay, because I think that helps a little bit with the hip angle. So that hasn't been too bad. But I think, so a few things that I've learned, ventilation threshold, that's the biggie. That was the very first thing I noticed, was I would get so winded just going upstairs or just on my walks. It was wild. But what happens is, the developing baby it's pulling so much oxygen from your body. And so in order to compensate for that, the pregnancy hormones automatically shift your ventilatory thresholds. So you start breathing really hard at a much lower level of effort in order to provide that extra oxygen, for both systems, so to speak. And that's been, so it's kind of, I was so glad that I learned that, because it made me, at first I was like, wow, I'm really unfit. But it's no longer correlating with fitness. It's correlating with this new, bigger demand for oxygen that your body's experiencing. So that's pretty cool, and that's been persistent.
Sounds like altitude training.
Yes.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Seriously,
That's what you're laughing at, Pete? It sounds like, yeah.
That's a really good analogy.
Because it's more like there's just less volume in you, right? And so as a result, your lungs cannot take up that space because baby's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
The lungs are getting squished and squished.
Yeah.
And then the cool thing about that, though, is on the bike, strangely, I feel really good on the bike. I feel almost more comfortable on the bike than walking around now. I have not been using a power meter because I don't want to worry about it. I've been riding on feel, but I feel pretty good. And the other thing that happens is your hematocrit goes way up because you have that extra demand for oxygen. So that's probably offsetting a little bit in terms of the ventilation threshold and, power to weight. God knows what that is right now. I don't need to know.
You got to figure out the baby's FTP first, actually, and then you can actually. We don't
There's
do that.
Whole new equation we can bring in. So it's been really fun, like learning all of these little quirks of physiology, and the doula's been an amazing resource. One of the funny things I experienced early on was when I first got pregnant and I was talking to the nurse at my doctor's office. One of the pieces of advice that she imparted was that I shouldn't allow my heart rate to go over 140. And I thought that was really interesting because, as we've talked about on this podcast, heart rate is a very, very individual thing. And I'm thinking, she didn't give it to me as a percentage of max. She didn't. Like,
do you know who I am, doctor?
Yeah.
So it got me digging, and it was kind of the first foray into that. Okay, I'm going to go do my own research, as you guys can imagine that I do. And one of the things about this process has been really interesting, and I think it's hopefully a takeaway for anybody, even folks who are not pregnant, which is to take kind of this economist approach to the research and the statistics, because oh my gosh, do they throw statistics at you. Okay, well, we have this thing and now you have a such and such percent likelihood of this thing. And no one has a crystal ball. There's no way to tell the future. So you're dealing with all of these probabilities all of the time. And it can be really, really overwhelming. And one of the things that economists do is they will look at data and they will look at probabilities. And you don't jump from data and numbers and probabilities to conclusions, actions, or plans. There's a step in between, which is values and preferences. So, okay, you can have 10 different people looking at the same numbers or the same probabilities or statistics, and each of those people is going to have a different set of values and preferences. So they are each, according to those values and preferences, going to feel very differently about that same set of numbers and statistics. And based on that, they're probably going to make different decisions about what they want to do. And that's been a really interesting process. And that's something that we all do here at TrainerRoad too. And with our training plans, we look at a study, it gives you some data, and then how you go ahead and apply that, that data in your own life or your own training has to filter through that contextual component of like, what are my goals? What are my values? What are my preferences in my life? And that might be schedule constraints, that might be your event goals. And then based on those things, how do you want to apply this data in terms of decision making and actually making a plan or executing a plan? And so this has been a really good exercise on that, because we get opportunities to do that cycle of thinking and decision making over and over and over again. But that's been a really interesting kind of fun learning as well. So that's a little bit of a takeaway. But
how about on clearly it's your first time through pregnancy and
Yes.
and as we've mentioned many times before, I'm a dude. I have no clue how any of this stuff works. So, but with that said, has sport helped you in unique ways with pregnancy? Because this has been yes, I would call myself a bike racer, but I'm not Amber, her entire life has been an athlete, right? So that's your identity. You've had a relationship with sport for a really long time. So how has that helped you? Or even that identity question that she asked, is that tough too?
Yeah. And this is great, because I think the assumption is that being in sport or being somebody who's fit and highly trained would confer a lot of physiological benefits. And it does in many ways. But I think the two most important ways that sport has helped me, on accident and not intentionally, helped prepare me for this process, have really not a lot to do with the physical, the physicality of being fit and prepared for this. And one of those is I've learned to deal with the loss of fitness a lot over my career, which is a funny thing to say as somebody who is a professional athlete, but I've been injured a lot, I've been sick a lot, and I've gone through this process of having something happen where I can't train. So all of that hard-earned fitness starts going away, which is terrifying because it takes so much work to get that fitness.
Pete and Nate are just nodding their
we're
heads.
just nodding. We agree. Tell us how it's okay.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So the more times you go through that process, the more frequently you go through that process, the more you start to stack up these experiences in your past where you say, hey, I've been here before. It's familiar. And the last time I was in this place, I actually got through it and was able to come back again. And so I don't want this to come. I'm not equating pregnancy to injury or illness. It's absolutely not. And it's kind of funny. It's one of the wonderful perspectives of the doula is she's always there to ground me in that this is a natural process for your body. It is not a medical condition. So that's a nice reminder. But so it's not a medical condition or an injury, but there's an analogy there where there's this letting go of that hard-earned fitness. And I feel so much more comfortable with doing that now because I've been here before. I've been in the position of needing to let go of the fitness, and I've come out the other side of it and gained that fitness back. I've reclaimed it, I've built back, and it's been okay. And so I don't feel that same fear that I did early on in my career where I was faced with a situation where I was having to let go of that fitness, often not by choice. And that fear of, am I ever going to get it back? How long is it going to take to get back? And now I know, hey, my body's been here before. It knows what to do. If I just allow this process to happen, allow some patience, allow myself some patience and some grace, it's going to come back. And so that piece has been really nice because that's brought a lot of peace of mind through those experiences and that familiarity being in this place. And the other thing about that I'll say is the scary part about losing fitness is how hard we know it, how much work and how hard it is to gain it in the first place. And that's the scary part of losing it.
It's making you feel better, Nate.
I'm tuning it out.
But the thing to remember is the process is actually fun. Yes, it's a lot of work, but oh my gosh, how fun is it when you start to see those gains, right? Mm-hmm. And when you are early on in that process of coming back, those gains come fast and they're big, huge gains. And it is so motivating. And it's easy to forget that the process is the fun part, right? Engaging with the process. And so reframing that a little bit can help of, okay, I'm not just losing this thing that's going to be really, really hard to get back. It's, hey, I get another opportunity to go through this process, which is incredibly and deeply fulfilling. So that's one framing on it. The other piece you mentioned was the identity piece. And that's another letting go. And that's another thing that I've had to do a lot through my career in sports. So the first time going through that was with swimming, and that was so hard. It was so hard. And yet I found cycling, and, I felt in that initial moving away from swimming that I had lost this identity of being an athlete. And then I came back around and reclaimed it as a cyclist. And what I've learned through sport and through many, many years of this, so this is a lesson that was a long time coming. This is not something that was easy to pick up on and learn and internalize. But I feel like I've gotten to a place now where I'm familiar with that loss of identity, that transition of identity, that change of identity. And so having more of a fluid identity feels familiar and safe now, that I can let go of this identity of someone who can get a QMM on every training ride. I can let that go because I know that I can reclaim it in the future if I want to, right? And I don't have to reclaim it in the future. There's no obligation to that. And that I'm open to adopting new identities and different identities. And that now feels safe because I've done it many, many times over the years and been okay. So those are two kind of interesting and unexpected ways that cycling and sport have actually prepared me for this experience in ways that have nothing to do with fitness, strength, numbers. It's really two big things that are hard to let go of, and realizing that it is okay to let go.
Yeah. This is awesome. I feel like we have really, we're pretty lucky these days to have great examples of women who are mothers who are managing their relationship with sport out in the open, like Lizzie Deignan, Catherine Pendrell, Sonia Looney, like these athletes that in cycling who have become mothers, and then they're taking all different paths through. I mean, Catherine Pendrell, she just almost top 20 to World Cup, and her I don't even know if her baby is 6 months old. Like, it's just incredible what she's doing. And the cool part is it's nice to just see everybody sharing whatever their path is through it, because it's all unique, like you said.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd want to share on this, Amber?
The last thing that's been kind of a pleasant surprise, and not something it's something that's only kind of come to the surface of my awareness in this process. And that's, I'm really embracing sort of the more feminine associated physical characteristics in a new way. And this is what I mean by that. So as most of you know, I started swimming pretty seriously by the age of 10. So I've been really deep into sport for a long time. And in sport, we are generally striving for what we would kind of culturally associate as masculine characteristics, right? We want more muscle, more definition, kind of angular, muscled physiology. And,
when does that happen? That'd be nice.
It is one of those things that's it's harder, I think, for women athletes. And it's not just something that, you go through puberty and now your body's changed and it's all done. For women, there's this really kind of long transition where, you go through puberty, but then up into your upper teens and even early 20s, your body is still changing substantially. And it's rounder and it's softer, and maybe there's not as much definition as the same guys that you used to be competing or training with in high school. And that's a really tough transition for a lot of athletes, and especially athletes who are competing at the collegiate level. That's sort of when a lot of that is happening. And it's a really fundamental change, and it requires adaptation in how you're training and how you see yourself. And that's a really tough, that's a lot to handle at that age, when you're also handling, being new to college and being new to other things. So I think that, and add to that when you're in sport, those very characteristics, the roundness, the softness, the curves, those are all of the things that coaches are telling you are not good. Like, you don't want those things. And it's one of the many ways that it doesn't always feel safe to be a woman in sport. It's a very, even in women's sports, it's a male-dominated space, amazingly. And this has been such an interesting experience because I'm working with, women providers and talking with other women who've gone through this experience, which is so unique to those feminine characteristics. And it's been so fun to completely embrace this. Wow, my body is it's getting really round and it's okay to feel round, and it's okay to feel soft, and it's okay to embrace these feminine characteristics that for so long and so many years of my life, it felt like were the wrong characteristics, the things that we didn't want, the things that I was trying to avoid. And it's amazing. And it's really, really nice. I don't know. It's just an interesting observation that it's really clear to me now, looking back, especially being pregnant now and in this very kind of, specific situation, to reflect back on that and how that was an interesting and pervasive part of the journey.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.